Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. We're going to have fun today. We're looking at German homes, how the Germans live. That's you. I assume you're German. Why else would you watch? Meet the Germans. This is one of my favorite channels. Million views on this, so it ought to be good. I like this lady too. She does a good job. Let's watch.
Did you know that in German addresses, the street name comes first and then the number, and the postcode or zip code comes before the city? And check out...
I'm more surprised how exactly similar the addresses are, other than the fact that the numbers are just switched around. Like that zip code was the same. Yeah, the same number of digits as like an American zip code and everything. So I'm more surprised how similar it is than any difference.
First and then the number, and the postcode or zip code comes before the city. And
You would think, I mean, I'm just saying, you would think that with the world being so big and everybody so like not connected up until the internet was made, that everything would be totally non-universal. It's already bad enough, I guess, that we don't use the metric system here. We've got like inches and stuff, but it's kind of amazing to me that the addresses are that similar. Okay, I'm done talking about how similar the addresses are.
check out the doorbells, no numbers. Instead, they're labelled with the surnames of the people.
Hold up.
And check out the first and then the number, and the postcode or zip code comes before the city. And check out the doorbells, no numbers.
The door... Did she call this a doorbell?
Postcode or zip code comes before the city. And check out the doorbell.
This is completely confusing me as an American. First of all, how is that a doorbell? That looks like a mailbox. Second of all, I've never seen a doorbell with a number or a name on it. Is this an apartment complex? Those aren't doorbells. A doorbell in America is ding dong, ding dong. Sorry, I had to watch this like 5 times to figure out
Bells, no numbers. Instead,
unless do you press that button and that rings that apartment's doorbell?
they're labelled with the surnames of the people living there, which strikes me as slightly unusual for this privacy-loving nation. Anyway,
That is pretty neat. That is the type of thing. What on earth? I've never seen anything remotely like that, where you've got all these different names and you can just ring them from the mailbox. No, no, no. You'd have to go up to that person's door and ring the bell that's right on their door. That is really pretty nifty, but could be a prankster's paradise. I'll tell you what, if I was 15 years old and I came across that, I would be able to ding dong ditch like how many? 25 people in a matter of seconds. It'd cause chaos. But maybe you Germans aren't as delinquent as I was.
for today's episode, we're at home with the Germans. German homes come in all shapes and sizes. They also have pretty logical names. A house at the end of a homes come in all shapes and
What is with that roof? What is that made out of?
sizes. They also have pretty logical names. A house at the end
Here's
of
another one. It's like it's made out of plants.
a row of houses is called an end of the row house, or ein Endhaus. A house where one family lives is called a one-family house, ein Familienhaus.
That makes sense.
Large houses split up into several apartments are called Mehrfamilienhäuser, or multi-family houses. And that's the most
Mehrfamilienhäuser.
common type of home here.
You guys like to make words that are you like to make really long words.
As I've told you before, Germans usually know the exact measurements of their home in square meters. The average German home is a little over 90 square meters for 2 people. 5 million Germans live in a
Okay. 90 square feet for 2 people. Okay. 960
WG or Wohngemeinschaft.
for 2 people. Honestly, that would be a very large apartment. A very large apartment and a pretty small house here in America. But for 2 people, it's, that's doable. Certainly a lot of people live in something that
shared
size.
accommodation, and only 0.5
But I will say that's probably a little smaller on average than an American two-person
million
house.
Germans live in a WG or Wohngemeinschaft. That's shared accommodation. And only 0.5% of households have 3 or more generations living under one roof. Cold rent means without bills, and warm rent includes costs for certain utilities and services. Germany has long been a
Without bills? How do I live there? What do you mean without
3 or more
bills?
generations living under one roof. Cold rent means without bills, and warm rent includes costs for certain utilities and services. Germany
So the rent does not. Okay, so some places just rent, and the rent includes all your utilities.
has long been a nation of renters. Less than half the population owns their own home, and in some larger cities that drops to a quarter. This is in part a hangover from recent history. During the war, a lot of private property was destroyed, so rental apartment blocks were built as a quick fix. In East Germany, people rarely had the option of purchasing their own property, and state-owned property was heavily subsidized.
beautiful that
People rarely
was,
had the
though.
option of purchasing their own property.
Look at that. I've never seen on the left there that kind of balcony, tiered balcony system or whatever. That's pretty neat.
And state-owned property was heavily subsidised. These days, some people prefer the flexibility of renting. Germans do, after all, move an average of 6 times in their life. But
Wow, 6 times. That's probably a lot more than Americans. Maybe 2.
most people cite spiralling house prices and hefty deposits as the main hurdle to owning your own home. That being said, renting isn't always a particularly cheap alternative. In Munich, renters are shelling out around €17 per square metre. Berlin has introduced a controversial 5-year rent freeze to try and get its prices under control. And some people are getting creative.
How
Stuttgart's
beautiful that
5-year
city
rent
is, though.
freeze to try
Oh my god. That is so cool looking.
and get its prices under control. And some people are getting creative, shunning traditional living models in favour of houseboats, camper vans, communal living projects, or tiny houses.
Sounds just like America. These tiny houses and camper vans. That is such a thing right now.
Ein Tiny House ist ein kleines Häuschen, meistens aus Holz gebaut, zwischen 10 und 20
Yep.
Quadratmeter auf Rädern, auf einem Pkw-Anhänger. Ist aber auch eine Bewegung. Ja, ist eine Bewegung, die vor ungefähr 15 Jahren in Kalifornien in den USA eingesetzt hat.
Und wie ist es dann nach Deutschland gekommen?
In Deutschland gab es ja schon immer durch diese Kleingärten eine Tiny House Affinität. Deutsche und auch Holländer, die ja sehr viel Camping machen und Caravaning, die
Sorry, I thought my wife was like. I keep hearing something.
Affinität. Deutsche und auch Holländer, die ja sehr viel Camping machen und Caravaning, die haben eine hohe Sympathie für kleine Räume.
Welche Vorteile bietet ein Tiny House?
Wenn wir nicht mehr so viel Platz beanspruchen, können wir nicht mehr so viel kaufen. Wenn alle Menschen auf einmal in Holzgebäude leben würden, hätten wir nicht so eine CO2-Katastrophen. Und wenn wir nicht mehr in anonymen Hochhäusern leben wollen, sondern eher in kleineren Strukturen, dann ist das soziale Miteinander auch ein anderes.
Anyway, back to the status quo for now. Here are
I don't think most people. I mean, I understand. Apparently, he's saying Germans can live in small spaces, like they're more so acclimated to that or something. How many of you guys are really gonna live in that freaking shed? How many people actually do that? I'm guessing not that many.
Das soziale Miteinander auch ein anderes.
Anyway, back to the status quo for now. Here are my personal picks for a few
And how would you raise a family in something like that? That's basically a non-starter if you have a family, I feel like.
things that make a home very German. House shoes, bottled water, sparkling of course, weird little mini forks for cake. If the cake's
So you only have sparkled bottling water?
shoes, bottled water,
Huh.
sparkling of course,
Yeah, I mean, here in America, they just sell tap water in bottles and people buy it for some reason.
weird little mini forks for cake. If the cakes aren't mini, then why are the forks? Solid roller blinds that block out every last scrap of light.
That is so cool. And I saw that in that one video, but that is so much better than what we have.
One of these retro-looking wooden measuring sticks. A cellar with caged-off storage spaces. A beloved balcony. That's the most sought-after home feature. 2 duvets, very practical. And unwieldy.
2
sought-after
duvets,
home
huh?
feature. 2 duvets, very practical. And unwieldy, squashy, frankly ridiculous square pillows.
What? What's the deal with that? What is the idea? A square pillow? Well, it kind of looks
And
comfortable, I'm not gonna lie.
unwieldy, Squashy, frankly ridiculous square pillows.
I'm intrigued. I want one.
Newcomers often have a few surprises when they move into their first place in Germany. First of all, don't expect a house or flat to be furnished, even if you're renting. And the biggest shock of all might come when you enter the kitchen. Yep, it's
I mean, places here, for the absolute majority, do not come furnished either if you're renting.
furnished, even if you're renting. And the biggest shock of all might come when you enter the kitchen. Yep, it's totally normal to take your entire kitchen with you when you move. Counters, cooker, sink.
You take the counters with you when you move. You take the sink. Guys, how about y'all just start leaving it behind? And that way, you know, the next person leaves it for you. It works out pretty well, in my experience at least. We just leave our sink and then we take, you know, and the next person leaves us their sink. What is the idea? You have to install a whole new kitchen every time you move? How do you move 6 times on average?
Everything. One good
Is that what? You install your counters every time you move to a new apartment?
thing about moving here is that it's
How do they fit?
a team effort. It's absolutely the done thing to enlist the help of all your friends. The only payment required is beer, pizza, and the knowledge that you'll return the favour. Of course, it wouldn't be Germany without a good set of rules. The small print in a rental contract can include such gems.
That is funny. It is a very... I'm just thinking about the beer and pizza because that is exactly what, like, the American type of typical thing. It's like a cliche to buy your friends beer and pizza if they help you move. So to think that's the exact same type of thing all the way in Germany, that's just interesting.
The only payment required is beer, pizza, and the knowledge that you'll return the favour. Of course, it wouldn't be Germany without a good set of rules. The small print in a rental contract can include such gems as the exact level of noise you're allowed to make, how
That's
often you
funny.
have to air your flat out, and the requirement to
You have to air your flat out too. Okay, so in the last video I learned about airing your house out. You have to air your apartment out too. That is mind-blowing to me.
repaint every room a neutral colour upon your departure.
You only have to do that here if you painted the room not a neutral. I guess that's the same. So if you don't paint the walls, you don't have to repaint them neutral. Yeah, same here.
If you've noticed anything else about the German way of living, leave me a comment below. Thanks for dropping by.
I think the idea with the tiny forks is that it makes the cake seem bigger. Thoughts? So it makes you feel like you're eating like a big piece of cake. It's brilliant. I felt like I rambled on way too much in this video, guys. I hope that was at least somewhat fun. That was super interesting to me. Somehow I always learn something new. I'm never going to be able to learn it all. Thanks for leaving all the comments and everything, guys. Those are really fun for me to read. And thank you for watching and subscribing. Regardless, thanks for watching. I hope I see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.